Chapter 164. Farewell. Castor brought of him water, strips of cloth, and a crude tunic. While Sonny was washing the blood off his body, the proud legacy carefully moved Harper's corpse into a corner, buried it under the pile of seaweed thatch, and wiped the blood off the floor as much as he could. This way. An accidental glance inside the hut would not reveal too much. Of course, even a little bit of scrutiny, and the signs of what had happened here would become apparent. While doing all this, Castor was speaking. The easiest way to get rid of a corpse is to simply toss it off the platform. With luck, it won't land on the road. But even if it does, no one would pay it a lot of attention. People die all the time out here in the Dark City, especially those living in the outer settlement. He paused, then continued. However, we can't do that because Harper isn't just a random slum rat, but someone who was working for the Bright Lord. The guards will become interested in his sudden death, and they'll use it to create trouble for you and Lady Nephis. So we need to make him disappear completely. That won't be easy. Sonny glanced at him and frowned. What's the big deal? I can just carry him down the hill and dump the body somewhere in the ruins. It's night outside. No one will see anything. Castor shook his head. Castle Guard has various types of observers watching the road day and night. You will be noticed, unless someone persuades them to look the other way, of course. He sighed. It won't be cheap, but I can make it happen. Tomorrow after sunset you will have about an hour to carry the body to the ruins and return. Sorry, but I can't buy you more time. This will wipe what little shards I have left already. His voice sounded as though the handsome young man was genuinely concerned for his comrade, but in reality he was just reiterating how much Sonny owed him now. And if that message was not enough, he could always threaten to reveal the secret of how Harper died in the future. Castor had him in the palm of his hand. Sonny smiled darkly. And what do I do until then? The legacy shrugged. Just act natural and try not to speak to anyone. You're kind of a loner as it is. No one will suspect anything. After that, he thought for a few moments, and added, Oh, this. No one should enter this hut for a long while. Harper lived in the castle for these past few months, so people in the slum won't notice his absence yet. Neither will guards, since he made a report recently. We should be fine. Sonny stared at him with a strange expression. Do you want to read more chapters? What? He shook his head. No, nothing. I'm just wondering how many bodies did you make disappear already? Castor frowned. This is my first, actually. In the Dark City, it is usually more advantageous to leave the body somewhere where everyone can see. Made sense. Why kill someone if not to make others think twice before attacking you in the future? Sonny was a real amateur when it came to murder. He really could not compete with the legacies. Just like that, they left the pitiful hut behind and returned to the lodge. With no one paying him any attention, Sonny returned to his room and sat quietly on his narrow cot. He thought that he wouldn't be able to sleep this night, tormented by both the knowledge of what Nephis was planning and the memories of Harper dying by his hand. But in the end, his exhausted consciousness slipped into oblivion as soon as his head touched the pillow. In the morning, he woke up with a start, expecting a crowd of furious slum dwellers to be rushing inside, all eager to... Well, what could they really do? If push came to shove, very few of them could actually harm him. None, but no one was there. After hesitating for a while, he decided to act as he would on any other day. Leaving his room, Sonny walked outside to wash his face. Neff's little helpers either greeted or ignored him, just like usual. Their smiles were friendly and fleeting. No one looked at him twice. Strangely disturbed, Sonny escaped the lodge and looked up at the sky. Nothing had changed. Everything was the same as it had been yesterday, and every day before that. How could this be? He had violently murdered someone, but no one seemed to care. The world had moved on without Harper, indifferent to the pain and horror that were now frozen forever in the dead eyes of the timid, pitiful young man. Even the guards did not seem to notice the disappearance of their spy. Sonny rubbed his face, hiding a pained grimace. His head hurt with a terrible migraine. If they don't care, why should I? Forget about that fool. But he did care. Irrational as it was, he felt compelled to mourn the death of his victim, even if he was the only one who would. Maybe because this situation was eerily identical to how he had always imagined his own death to happen, utterly unnoticed. Discarded and forgotten. with not a single soul to care that he had ever existed. Pathetic. Returning inside, Sonny entered his room and sat on the cot, staring at the wall. He spent most of the day there, going out only once to pretend to train with the Midnight Shard. While he was repeating the katas, he thought that he caught sight of Nephis observing the movements of his sword with a frown on her face. But a second later, she was distracted and drawn away by the never-ending torrent of tasks required of her. Good riddance. Go chat with Castor, see if I care. His sudden anger surprised Sonny. Well, at least it was better than the grim apathy that reigned over him this whole day. What's wrong with my mind lately? It's like I'm back on the Ashen Barrow. Frowning, he dismissed the Midnight Shard and returned to his room. However, someone was waiting for him there. It was Cassie. The blind girl stood silently with her back to the door, holding the wooden staff in her hands. Her face was unusually still. It almost looked bleak. Sonny's heart skipped a bit. Did she find out? Forcing out a fake grin, he made his voice sound cheerful and said, "Oh, hey CAs, do you want something?" She turned to him, and, after a moment of hesitation, smiled. However, something about her smile was off. Tidon. It was almost as though it was as forced as his own. The blind girl lingered, then said, "No, nothing in particular." Sonny blinked a couple of times. "What's up with her today?" Meanwhile, Cassie raised her hand and found his shoulder. "No, actually, I have a present for you." He raised his eyebrow. "A present?" She nodded. In the next moment, a spark of energy suddenly traveled from her body into his. Sonny flinched. "You have received a memory, Endless Spring. Wasn't it that pretty glass bottle of hers? One that contained an almost endless amount of water?" Why was she giving it to him? "Why are you gifting me this all of a sudden?" She was silent for a few moments, then gently shook her head. "I just wanted to. Why? Can't I give you something after everything that you have done for us?" Sonny hesitated. "I guess you can. I just didn't expect it." Cassie gripped his shoulder and remained motionless for a weirdly long amount of time. Then, she looked away and said, her voice light and even. "We'll meet again soon, Sonny." "Weirdo." He patted her hand and said, a little embarrassed, "Of course we will. Where would I go? This lodge is too small for us not to bump into each other all the time anyway." She slowly removed her hand and chuckled. "Yeah, you're right, of course. I'll go now." With that, she turned away and headed for the door. Sonny stared at her back and shrugged. "All right, bye." What has gotten into her? Reaching the doorway, Cassie froze for a second. Without turning her head and letting him see her face, she lingered for a while, then quietly said, "Goodbye, Sonny."